Okay, good. So you'll be able to get on Canvas using a device, or you can even use this computer up here.
I've got mine too.
Okay, good. And I've got mine. At the heart of facilitating is really the heart. And you'll see this in the reflection that we posted for today's class. A couple questions you might want to ask yourself is, do I facilitate or do I lecture? And why do I do those things? Is it because I like to hear myself talk? Because some people do. Is it because I feel like I'm an expert and need to data dump onto people? Is it too hard for me to allow people to discover for themselves what they need to learn for themselves? Can I create those conditions for people to learn for themselves while still being the expert, but not having to be the one that is always the voice? So where is my heart when it comes to teaching? Can I be a facilitator? Do I feel like I need to be the one who's teaching? Or do we realize that we are our own best teacher and we all have different lenses with which we view things? And ultimately, facilitating does do the best because we're trying to create the conditions for people to learn on their own. So that's that's kind of the frame that we want to use for today. And we're going to let kind of Rob take over, and please just kind of view the things, your own learning today with that in mind.
I figured I'd videotape the things that are due so people can see them. Okay, quick question. What makes a good facilitator, in your opinion? What's a good facilitator?
Someone that interacts with the audience. I think that for me is the biggest key, is are they engaged? Am I just up there like, am I just, that's exactly it. Like, am I dumping, am I lecturing, but am I, the best one is just engaging.
Okay. What else?
I think being willing to take a step back and just kind of let the classmates kind of discuss it out, like talk it out. Like you don't have to be the expert, like Darren was saying.
Discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Willing to take feedback.
I haven't thought about that, but I like that a lot. Willing to alter yourself, change based on what your class needs.
Asking the right questions.
Okay.
I don't know how to put this into one word, but
You can't.
I never can.
Just kidding.
You guys know. I just blah 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 blah.
We only accept one-word answers,
And
so.
you guys probably get the glazed over eyes, like, is he gonna be done?
What was that?
See, already happening. A good facilitator to me is somebody who can break down barriers for people, melt the walls, melt stereotypes, and I guess create unity. Maybe you could just put unity for the word, but I feel like that's a really powerful and effective tool that a facilitator can potentially have, is to create that environment in the classroom.
I was going to put kids down to the nitty-gritty. Okay.
You have to know that they care. You have to feel their love.
Okay.
I think another thing is, it has to be of high quality, like something that
Explain.
well, something I'm working on is I seem to ramble, or I seem to tell something, and that's all I need to tell, and I can stop there, but sometimes I go on a little bit further, and that furtherness isn't needed.
It's just fluff.
Yeah, it's just like fluff. You're just like, I'm just talking to talk, that's all. But just to say what I need to say, get it out there, and then just let it just kind of,
So don't beat a dead horse.
yeah.
Well, and a couple things with that. One is, do I need to be the one who says it?
Mhm.
And then two, at the beginning when you actually plan your lesson, are you asking in your mind or verbally, I am going to do this, or what will the students do? I mean, what am I going to do, which is a teacher-focused framework, or what will the students do? And I would contend that a facilitator is going to be much more of the latter, asking themselves, what are the students going to do?
Right. Okay. Any others?
Bold.
I wrote planning real big because we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Hasn't been touched on. And I think it is very important.
I think facilitator should be bold.
Bold? Explain.
A facilitator should not be afraid to ask any question to prompt discussion and respond to any answer that comes from discussion with confidence in being able to control the conversation. And okay, is that how you feel? Let's talk about that. I'll use a good example, and Darren was a good example of this. I remember when we were talking about, Darren, you were giving your discussion about companies and how companies, there were a couple of companies that were like, they're really good at this, really good at this. And Whitney boldly came forward and said, no, this company's awful, like trash. And I'm sure that none of us were expecting that.
Right.
But there was Darren did a good job of, okay, talk about that, like, let's explain that, expound on that, like, because that could be a situation where the facilitator could, like, now what do I say, like, awkward, you know? So they need to be able to be bold and handle situations well.
And that's, I think, being able to have control. That's exactly it as well. I mean, not letting the class run away with it and stuff like that. Being like, okay, tell me more, do it in a responsive way, not in kind of a, oh, you're wrong. Because that's going to lose control right there anyways. But it's definitely, I think it's definitely about control.
So it's in knowing when to take control and when to give control. Because there are definite times where there are things that me or Darren want to talk about or want to say, but where the class is taking things is obviously what needs to be talked about, what needs to be said.
Or even much better than we had anticipated.
Right.
I'm guessing that's Tuesday.
So there's definite knowing and letting the class really control. But
I think
giving up
that's two
control.
levels of control, though, isn't it? I mean, you have the control, but you're still, the instructor's still in control. The class kind of has the reins of where they want to go, but we all look to the instructor to kind of keep us confined, I guess you'd say.
Is it control or is it perceived control? That would be a question that I would throw out there. Because honestly, I don't have an intention, and I don't think Rob has the intention to control you or the class. We want to create enough structure, but is it, I mean, I think if we were to ask you, do you feel like we're out of control? And I would guess that.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that was a real.
And yes, we are totally out of control. But I think that's why I asked the question, is it control or is it perceived control? Or trying to give the impression that, yeah, we kind of know what we're doing, but we really don't. But that's kind of the plan. But I want to go back to something that Amber just said. You said, was that Tuesday?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like on Tuesday, I remember you were like, oh, I didn't think it was going to go here today, but this needs to be said. And you just did it.
And what do you think was the result of that choice as the facilitator to kind of go in that direction?
I don't know. For me, it opened kind of a door for me figuring out why I betray myself. And it's good to find out what your habits are and why you are unhappy with yourself in general.
So that was a beneficial for
That's what it was for me. I don't know about anybody else. That's how it was for me.
And there will be times when, as the facilitator, you have planned something and you have this impression, this idea, this thought that we're not going to go there today, or we're only going to cover X, Y, and Z, or we're going to, and that you need to trust that impression, that thought, because obviously you're having it for a reason. And it may totally flop. I've had that happen too, but I still believe that it was for a reason. Maybe I needed to learn something from it at the expense of the students. I don't know. I've had that happen before, but that's important.
And this is where I see a lot of difference between a teacher and a facilitator. Is a teacher I see a lot in my major, in math. They have this curriculum that they have to teach. They don't care what the questions are. They don't care what comes up. They have to get through the material. And that's why they blow through your questions, breeze by you, is because they're not caring to facilitate, because they have their regulations and their rules that they have to teach, and they have to get through the material. But a facilitator would, if there was a question, obviously it was asked by multiple people, they would go to that, and they would thrive on that, and then they would eventually bring in everything else that they have to teach.
One other side note: what is your response to if we were to say one who covers material? Would you say that's a teacher or a facilitator, or could it be both?
Could be both, but generally it's classified as a teacher. But that's what I think, because the whole difference in this is being teacher focused and versus student focused. And what you guys have been doing, what you guys were talking about for the last 5 minutes, is being student focused, because we needed a different thing. Therefore, you guys switched it up to kind of convey the message to us to fit our needs in reverse to us kind of like conforming and kind of like switching up to meet your guys' needs, if that makes sense.